Look how disheveled my hair is. Welcome to Ways of Old. I am your GM for the evening, Gilbert Ramos. We have a single announcement, and that's just a congratulations and a thank you to all those who went over to the back of for Trinity Continuum Aegis. They ended out with $47,845 of their $20,000 goal, so well over fully funded with some great stretch goals unlocked, such as virtual tabletop tokens. Wow, I said that without like muttering over. That's awesome. Damn, I'm getting good at this. Um, some virtual tabletop tokens, a Red Bubble T-shirt, as well as additional content for the actual PDF and book itself. So that's going to be awesome. So we thank you to all the 979 backers that went ahead and backed that project for Onyx Path. This is a book that I helped write on, so I'm very excited. Excited, well, butchered the word excited. Um, Excited to see what made it in and what didn't get cut down by the editor. So we'll see. Let's make a game of it. If you guys did check it out and backed it, and whenever you guys get the book, see if you can pick out what section I contributed to. But yeah, thanks again to everyone who contributed. We appreciate each and every one of you. That is the only announcement we have for tonight. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into meeting our cast, shall we?
Hi, I'm Luna, or Druid by Night. You can find me at Druid by Night on TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch. And today I will be playing the sorceress, Cersei Aveline.
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I am the Azure Butterfly, or Azure for short, or simply Rachel. You can find me over at the Azure Butterfly here on twitch.tv and the Azure Butter One on all social media. I am playing Ingrid of Sintra, the Bear Witcher.
Absolutely lovely to see you both again. Um, I'm excited to see what comes out of this today. We'll we will certainly see all of the good things, and nothing bad will happen at all. I'm sure.
Yay!
I believe you 100%. We're in the safety of Aretuza. Nothing can go wrong. We're going to kill Stregobor, and it's going to be great.
That's the spirit. With that firmly in mind, let's jump into the recap for the previous episode of Ways of Old.
Oh yeah, that's me. Hold on. I
That
have
is you.
actually I am actually 90% prepared for this time. Previously on Witcher Ways of Old, episode 15. The session begins with Ingrid and Cersei arriving at the port city of Gors Velen, gateway to Aretuza. Cersei gives Ingrid a bit of a warning on what to expect with Aretuza and meeting her fellow mages. Um, Cersei also then warns Thaland about the laws that governing trade within Gors Velen, the caravan managing to make it past the checkpoints due to this warning. But Ingrid and Cersei do not allow Thaland at all to hide anything in their wagon, due to Thaland not really being transparent, not very forthright about what he was trying to hide within their wagon. Uh, so yeah, that happened, and Thaland was kind of little chuffed about that. Is chuffed the right word? Either way. Uh, uh, as they make their way into the city, Ingrid, being worried about making a poor impression on Cersei's acquaintances, suggests that they go bathe and prepare themselves at one of the bathhouses, allowing Cersei to lead the way since this was her home, her stomping grounds. Um, Parting ways with the caravan for now, they made their way to the Silver Heron, purchasing 2 hot baths for the both of them, changing the fresh clothes, brushing out hair, cleaning off dirt, and all that. Ingrid putting on her new armor and letting her hair down for the first time, while Cersei changed into a rather elegant gown. Uh, but we then make our final push towards Aretuza, passing through a magical barrier, arriving to a very warm welcome by the current rectress of Aretuza, Margarita. Uh, Cersei introduces Ingrid and Margarita, and the rectress examines the Bear Witcher closely before welcoming them both in. They're then led along the halls of Aretuza, leading to the Gallery of Glory, a great painting hall filled with paintings depicting historical events and figures of great import to Aretuza. Um, Cersei and Ingrid discuss the painting of the previous rectress, freshly added to the wall of Tisea. Margarita and Cersei then begin to discuss the other visitors that had come to Aretuza, Istrid and Stregobor, to the concern of Cersei, who details both of these people to Ingrid. Margarita mentioning that they are awaiting her decision on a crucial matter. Margarita and Cersei continue their conversation, catching up on why her and Ingrid were there. Cersei and Ingrid both offering their services to Margarita in exchange for sanctuary, who graciously accepts. And Margarita also confirms that Cersei's mentor, Aurelia, is quite at Aretuza. And is currently, I'm going to miss this, she's teaching there right now, right?
Yes.
Cool. Ingrid then questions Margarita, a little quickly, if she'd be able to sit on one of the novice lessons, having wished to do so for quite a while. To which Margarita states that it could be arranged, offering for her to sit in on a lesson of control led by Sabrina. Ingrid then departs, leaving the two of them alone to discuss things in private. Margarita questions Cersei's full true motivations for returning home. The two discuss magical politics and war and the gossip of their lives. Meanwhile, Ingrid made her way to her room, where she changed out of her armor and into something a little more casual, a little more comfortable, and then began making her way to the lesson, being guided by pretty much a guiding light, a waypoint made by Margarita. But while on her way, Ingrid nearly stumbles into an older mage, uh, who she finds out is Stregobor, who chides her like she is one of the novices. Ingrid corrects him, telling that she's a witcher. To his horror, he then storms off to go see Margarita. Ingrid, bothered by how he treated her, cast art on one of the paintings near him to crash into him before she just walked away. I'm pretty sure that left Stregobor quite steaming. But yeah, this is where my notes end, and I'm going based off memory. I'm so sorry, everybody. At this point, I know Ingrid joins in the lesson in session that Sabrina is holding on control, finding Istrid there as well, whom she joins, and the two have a little bit of an idle. I tried to be a little flirty chat with between the two before they are both chided by Sabrina and told to either be quiet or get out. And that's where we leave Ingrid on this session and then return to Margarita and Cersei, who, continuing their conversation, are interrupted by a very angry Stregobor, looking to get, first of all, chiding Margarita about Ingrid being there, being allowed to walk the halls, before demanding her attention on those crucial matters that were to be discussed before then, from my recollection, storming off. And that's where we had ended the session.
Indeed, we find our heroes separated, though safe for the time being. Cersei, you are with Margarita, and it seems she has other duties to attend to, though she seems content to keep Stregobor waiting.
I remember last session I had mentioned that I wanted to help in any way that I can, and I believe I rolled to persuade her to let me sit in on their important conversation.
You did.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we'll begin. How apt, how fun that we'll begin this session with another roll.
Oh, wow.
I would like you to roll. Let's call this either human perception or. I think human perception will do the best.
Okay. Okay. Math is hard.
Math is hard. That's why I don't like doing it. That's why I make calculators do it for me.
Lucky we stay in the double digits in this game.
For now.
Oh god.
22.
22. There's something in the way she says this, Cersei. A private discussion. You don't imagine she means the conversation with Stregobor. You don't imagine she means a known conversation to anybody. There's something deeper. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to something deeper. And you recognize these types of things. Most politicians or nobles invite you to things like this, and they use the same tone of voice, the same subtle mannerisms. There's a flicker in their eyes. You recognize these features here. As Margarita has something hidden going on.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you from any appointments you may have.
Oh yes, I should at least pretend as if I'm interested in what he wants.
Yeah, that might calm him down a little bit.
Perhaps. You should speak with Aurelia further. Let her know that an invitation has been extended.
What kind of invitation?
She'll know what I mean, dear.
Okay.
She leans in, gives you a kiss on either cheek, and then, with a flourish of her gown, she departs the gallery.
I think I would linger at Tisae's portrait one last time before finding my way to Aurelia's office, quarters, wherever she resides.
Disea de Vries, Margarita's predecessor, she was a strong woman. I'd love to get some insight, though. There are, of course, what we see in books and history, and what is written of a person does not always match up with the perceptions of those that were close or under their tutelage. Though you're not under her direct tutelage, and I believe time frame wise, you may have came in later after she was gone. But I'm curious to what you think of this person. After everything you've heard, everything that she contributed, what are Cersei's thoughts on Tisea de Vries?
I think Cersei probably heard a lot of the more, I almost want to say glamorized, but the more her heroics, her good deeds, what she contributed to Aretuza. Obviously, also hearing about her reputation as being incredibly strict and um, harsh at times. But I guess she wouldn't really pay that any mind. It can't be any worse than what she went through.
Perhaps, perhaps not. But you depart this space, you make your way over to Aurelia's quarters. As you step through the halls of Aretuza, you can feel the hum. It's almost a light vibration of chaos, of magic that courses through these stones. Feels as if the building itself is welcoming you. There's nothing that could go wrong here. Indeed, the strife you faced here during your tutelage was difficult, but look at what you've become.
Yeah,
You have
exactly.
survived a number of tragedies. Fire around you and chaos wiping out towns and cities, and yet here you stand, Cersei.
I think she'd pick up her chin a little bit and reflect on how that harshness made her who she is today.
You pick up your chin. You walk a bit straighter. There's a fleeting thought. Perhaps passing, maybe you don't linger on it. The last thing you saw when you left the gallery was Tisea DeVries' portrait. Do you think she would be proud?
Hard to say. I'd like to think so. But I feel like pride from her is very hard to come by.
Do you think she'd be proud in Aretuza and how it still stands?
I think so.
You step through Aretuza's halls. You make your way to your old mentor's quarters. And as with each step we fade from you, we drift back toward Ingrid. You watch the
Look at me.
lesson. Now there are only subtle things from Eastrid. Little chuckles and coughs as Sabrina speaks. Hints that he may have some disagreements with the philosophy or the theory or maybe even the method. But he's respectful enough not to speak, not to upset the class once more. He does nudge you every once in a while and points to his particular student. Never the same student, but whenever one is particularly gifted or doing something strange or perhaps has an unintended effect to what they're practicing here.
Interesting. I would say Ingrid does have her notebook out and her quill and ink that she has, and she is making notes in her notebook as she's listening. And I would also say that she would probably be like, nudging back to him at points as well, and like pointing to her notes and almost like kind of
He glances over
manner.
at your notebook. The facial expressions give a lot. Go ahead and roll me human perception, please.
Boy, I'm gonna use my pink and gold dice for this one.
As a reminder, two of you should refill your luck.
I didn't need to use my luck last time.
Fair. We'll see if we can't remedy that this situation.
I'm gonna use all my luck in this roll now. I'm kidding. Okay. Human perception is empathy. 7 plus 7 is 14 plus 3. 17.
17. He makes faces. He glances over and kind of just smiles every once in a while. And extends the bottom of his jaw. Furrows his brow. He points and he nods at things. And he makes a point. He gently pulls the quill from your fingers and then kind of strikes certain things out, or adds a simple line and writes a few words, and others he hesitates. He writes a line and then he glances up at you and then he writes, "Will expand later," signifying possible later communication.
I see.
As he writes this, he then looks up at you, meeting your eyes, and then writes a question mark at the end of those particular 3 words.
She looks down to the notebook, sees the words, tilts her head a little bit, and then looks back up to him and says, and just nods, like.
Gives a smile, and he hands you back the quill.
Perfect.
The lesson continues. Go on.
there is one specific thing that I want that I want to look out for with when it comes to Sabrina, the novices, how she's teaching specifically. It was already in the last session. So Ingrid came into Aretuza in the mindset of the grass has to be greener than the kind of training that I had gone through. Like chaos is chaos, and that does take a lot of control and stuff, but she still expected so much more empathy, compassion in general, and like a lot of more happiness, and joy and magic. Her mind kind of built all this up over the course of her life so far, having never really strayed too close to this it herself in that time. She actually actively wants to check to see now that, from what she's seen with Margarita and Cersei and their discussions that she was overhearing with and seeing with the novices and stuff, there's cracks in that facade for her. She wants to see if that's true. She wants to see if these like how similar to her own training is this in actuality.
Roll me human perception. You're just basically scanning the room and seeing how comfortable and examining body language.
And how Sabrina herself is treating her students,
Mm-hmm.
because a teacher is an arm of the academy itself. So they're a representation.
Indeed, they are.
And Azure knows that Sabrina's not a great example of a lot of that, but Ingrid doesn't know shit. Let's see. 22.
22. The students seem rigid. They are eager, ambitious. Watching Sabrina interact with them, you can see they become more so. They are determined to put their best foot forward. You can see some of them, perhaps the less jaded, are give subtle signs of disappointment whenever Sabrina comes by, examines their work, and they seem eager, ready, proud to present what they've done. She is cold. She nods, never smiling, continues on to the next student, and you can see them, that kind of cracks them just a bit. There's a want for recognition, there's a want for praise, there's a want for a kind word toward what they've accomplished, and there is none. It seems like they are starving for it.
There seems to be, I would say, from Istrid's perspective, if he is looking at Ingrid at all, during this, there's still that little bit of elation in the fact that she is able to be in this situation at all. But it's starting, but the realization, seeing her own self in these novices, and then seeing, instead of Sabrina, the cold bear school Witcher trainers doing the same thing to her. She slowly frowns.
Indeed, there are many similarities to draw in the coldness of Sabrina compared to the coldness of the instructors at your own particular academy. It's unfortunate, to say the very least. They don't seem under duress, but it seems very competitive. There are subtle things that people cling to when not given a kind word in an academic setting. People draw their own conclusions. If the instructor lingers at you for longer, perhaps that's a good sign. And you can detect the competitive nature of these students. There is jealousy amongst them, and this seems to be fostered. This feels as if it was manufactured to raise themselves up through competition. You can imagine, even your even your compatriots, the Bear School, there was, at least in the training process, you had one another. You had your other initiates. That may change whenever they undergo the trial of the grasses, when everything is said and done. Their empathy may be muted, and those friendships may drift, but they were there for a moment. And these students don't seem to have that. It's
Oh no,
competitive.
it's worse.
It's a very isolating thing you're witnessing here.
That's depressing. That is very depressing. In her notebook, she's gonna write, "Is it always like this?" Question mark, and show it to Istrid. Hold.
He
Glad.
raises an eyebrow and then kind of tilts his head toward the door and begins to step that way.
Ingrid will take a second, looking down to Sabrina and the novices. We'll make a couple more notes, but then she will stand up, and follow Istrid.
You join him in the hall, and he lets out a louder breath as the door closes. This is, I apologize, I wasn't quite sure what you meant.
Is it always this cold, this cutthroat here?
You have a keen eye to detect that sort of thing. You have a keen eye to detect that sort of thing.
It is part of my profession to be observant, and even more so in a place that I was very excited to be. Still am, but I do not know. I expected something brighter, something more magical, something more beautiful.
As do most of the young women who come here. But Aretuza didn't become the most prestigious magic academy by fostering a society of comfort, no. Every one of those girls is fixed on their own agenda, and they might form a sisterhood eventually. They may form it during their training, but no, for now they are eager to prove themselves to be the best. They are young and filled with ambition. This is just how it is here.
That is fair. And who am I to speak? I grew up in similar conditions. The School of the Bear was not much different from here, though maybe a little less isolating in companionship. But
if it is any consolation, it is not always like this. There are times where they let their hair down. The initiates are very rarely allowed to attend such events, but on the rare occasion that they do, you can see the very different change. As well, it's not all the entire of the magical world. Banard is quite different, but we are also not the most prestigious magic academy in the continent.
that is quite fair enough. I did approach this a little more like a child would have, admittedly. Though could you blame me? I had only heard about this place in stories, and it always made it seem so magical, and it's hard to break preconceptions before coming to one spot, even for someone of my own age.
He gives a smile and then says, "It's completely understandable that you would approach this in the manner that you have. There are many stories of Aretuza. I'm glad that you've clinged to those of the good. It's, we lose a lot in our age. I'm glad at the very least that you kept the, I hesitate to say childlike wonder, but at least the wonder.
The golden retriever energy. um, she smiles and she says, "It is how I cope. It is my way after everything that I have seen and everything that I've been through, and I can only imagine for some of those here as well. Um, it is my way of dealing with that by pushing for the optimism that I wish was there more prevalent, if that makes any sort of sense."
It does. The the initiates, they are allowed to speak. They are allowed to converse, and they do have what can be dubbed as off time. If you wish to speak with them and gather your own perception and see what drives them. Maybe they're not
I
as
may
miserable as they appear. Perhaps there is some secret happiness you might find.
I may do just that. I also have I will also speak to Cersei about this because this is a unique situation, and I would love her opinion on this as well. We did introduce ourselves before on a
Mm-hmm.
previous session. Okay, just right, we were talking in a previous session. Istrid, you said your name was.
Yes. Sorcerer Benhard, archaeologist, subpar author.
You right.
I have written, yes.
Uh, Quite fascinating. I do love a good tale, and I do love a good history lesson, so to speak. The world is such a fascinating place, and the more that you learn about it, the more you know. And uh, what is the saying? Knowledge. I would say that not people who say knowledge is power, but in reality, knowledge is everything.
We share a similar view on this then. I will be, until Margarita rescinds my ability to explore, I will be around through the halls. You might find me. I spend a particular great deal of time in the gallery. If you should need me, and if you need, he points to your journal, elaboration on your notes.
Oh, certainly. Yes, I will definitely make sure to come find you, should the mood strike. She says with a small smile.
He gives a smile and then glances over your shoulder, and the smile locks in place. It's a it's an uncomfortable look you can see that kind of just his face locks. Uh, if you glance over your shoulder, you would see the object of his discomfort.
She does.
At the end of the hall, there you see Stregobor, standing in full regalia and robes, watching this interaction. Staff in
Oh, ew.
hand, he looks displeased.
Is 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 he looking at us?
And the smile still kind of locked on his face. He says, "He is, and it appears he has need of me. So you must
Forgive me.
excuse me."
I may have made him a little more upset in my coming here. He did corner me, and I may have used the Ard sign to push one of the paintings right into him before leaving. So,
The smile widens a bit, and in a more natural state, he lets out a small chuckle and says, "Truly lovely. Though, to be fair, I think that he would have been irked by your presence should you merely have quenched your own thirst. He doesn't. He's not a man who enjoys anything, really."
he seems like the type, and this world seems to be in excess of men like him.
Quite so. You can hear Stregobor at the end of the hall cough very loudly. Istrid rolls his eyes and says, "Sometimes he forgets that I'm no longer a student. Excuse me while I remind him."
It was a pleasure. She reaches her hand out to shake his.
He takes your hand. He does not take it in a manner to shake, though. As he begins to take a step and you extend your hand, he grips it tenderly and then leans down. A hair's breadth away, his lips meet your knuckles, and then he raises himself back upright and says, "I look forward to seeing you in the gallery during your stay."
I would say when that happens, she straightens up and she just nods her head a few times, says, "I will come find you. And good luck."
He strides off, and you can hear Stregobor kind of scoff once more as he reaches him, and there is hushed, sharp whispers amongst them.
Ingrid is going to let out a breath once Istrid's out of earshot, and she's just going to whisper, "What just happened?" And then she's going to do one of those steps where she's going to turn to go into the door, but almost hit the wall instead, and then stop and steady herself before opening the door and stepping back into the classroom to finish up her audit of the
Excellent.
lesson.
As you step in and ponder what just happened, we rejoin Cersei. Cersei, you've reached your mentor's quarters. A simple door, likely a sort of stained oak in nature, heavy. It's very similar to the rest of the doors in Aretuza. However, there is a strange blue flower that marks the handle.
I think Cersei, before knocking, would kind of make motions like smooth out her dress and her hair, and take a deep breath, and then knock.
She doesn't hesitate. There is no between the moments of you knocking. There is a split second when it is still closed, and then suddenly swings open. She looks ready to chastise, and then immediately she kind of assesses you and softens in a few seconds, and says, "Cersei, dear,
Aurelia, it's been too long.
far too long." She pulls you in for a hug, uh, and gives you a not a strong squeeze, but it is quite tight, very firm. Uh, yeah. She
I'll,
releases you after a moment. Go on.
yeah, I'll hug her back and just um have a small twinge of nostalgia.
She says, "Come in, come in," and she notices the blue flower now on the floor from the handle being turned. She says, "Oh God." And she ushers you inside.
Something the matter?
Not at all. She waves a finger and it ignites into a quick burst of flame and is not but ash in seconds. Says, "Unwanted suitors that no doubt want something from me that I certainly will not give."
Don't I know the feeling?
Tale as old as time for women, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Come in, though. Please, she closes the door behind you.
I do. Um, I think for a moment she would just look around the office and see what's changed.
Well, Cersei, this is an excellent moment to ask you what you recall of Aurelia. What is Cersei's perception? What gives some some brief history, anything you're comfortable sharing of Cersei and Aurelia's relationship, this person's demeanor. What do you remember?
Cersei would remember how she had, at first at Aretuza, she was having a hard time um, adjusting to the manner and style of teaching, we'll call it. And Aurelia was always the type to come and go as she pleased. Sometimes she would go on quote unquote holiday, and then she'd come back and teach, and she always had her reasons. But when she came and for the first time and taught a class that Cersei happened to be in, um, she was still strict and made sure that Cersei knew what she was doing. Um, but and she was invited after class to her quarters, which was scary. Um, but it was more of a asking how she's doing, how she's adjusting. And over the years that became um any any class that Cersei was taking, um Aurelia would make sure that she was doing make not slacking, making sure she's doing her best at all times, and making sure she wasn't being abused.
Indeed. What do you remember of her office?
It was eccentric. It had a lot of artifacts and baubles and items from different locations, different cultures, lots
Well,
of books.
I am happy to report, Cersei. Not much has changed. In fact, there are likely the largest change is likely the accumulation of more artifacts, more items. Very much the stereotypical witch's hovel in her office. It is an organized chaos. The dresser is, instead of littered with makeup and preparations for getting ready in the morning, it is instead littered with baubles and trinkets and things. There are groupings. You can see an organization here. Her books are not organized in a traditional manner either. Most people organize by subject matter or author. She's organized by color and size. There is a there's a strange sense of her own style, her own method of keeping things organized here. She invites you to sit. She has replaced the furniture. It is more ergonomic, is the best way to put it. Uh, Modern, or rather, well, modern for the time. Uh, Chairs and such usually have a space between the armrests and the seat itself. No, instead these are curved and a half circle and cushioned all the way around, firm at the back and where your lower back would rest. And it seems to extend downward and mold to your legs. It's very strange, but almost as if you're slipping into a sleeping bag of some sort.
So what's brought you to Aretuza now?
Oh, I'm teaching full time, can you imagine?
Wow.
It is exhausting, and I hate it here. But it's home. I don't hate it here. I love the students. The being here, calling a place home for more than a few weeks is still a strange concept. But I am a semi-permanent member of the staff. I have been known to disappear for a week or two, but I am semi-permanent.
Well, that's interesting. How are the students getting on? You're muted.
They're doing well. This batch of initiates is ambitious, very strange. I think that well, Tiseo was difficult and hard. Margarita is a marked improvement. Though I would never have told Tiseo that to her face. She would not have been pleased with my forward thinking. But
No, she
Margarita is a
wouldn't.
marked improvement. Still, though, there's changes to be made. I would make changes, but that would require me to take up a leadership role, and no, thank
No,
you.
that doesn't sound like you.
No, I much prefer to come and go as I please, and even as a permanent member of the staff, I still have the amount of freedom that I would enjoy. But these initiates are. I feel like they're making it harder for themselves, if I'm being absolutely honest.
How so?
Well, you remember the competitive nature of your
Of
studies.
course.
I always tried to be more comforting, even just a subtle word of expressing that someone had done well. But these they are receptive to that, but they seem to have had to dial back more so because every compliment is met with glares, not to me, but to the student in particular. They seem to be ready to devour one another. It's perhaps it's the age.
Could be. I remember me and my classmates would try to form some sort of sisterhood
Ah,
to
yes, the
cope.
little covens.
Yes, the little covens.
They still form every once in a while, but even then, God, it's like it's so very political. They take after their fathers and their mothers. It's watching the continent's politics play on a smaller scale. It's very strange. Tiny kings and tiny queens. Adorable, really.
That does sound monstrously adorable.
I only pray that there will be no assassination attempts.
We could hope. Could only hope.
But enough, enough. What have you been up to, my dear?
Cersei would open her mouth to like say something and then remember why she's there and kind of make a face. Um, well, n- she'd actually struggle to figure out how to formulate her words. On the run.
Her face drops a bit. There's a look of concern. She doesn't speak, but her eyes urge you to continue.
Well, I'm sure you heard what happened at Vizima.
She nods.
Well, I was there, of course. Lived there. Um, there was a masquerade that I was attending, and that was when the sacking began.
Oh, my dear, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I barely made it out with one friend intact and the other severely injured.
I'm so sorry. Are they here?
One is, the injured one left.
You. Interesting. Healed, I imagine? Kept.
No.
You've taken the company of fools.
Yes.
Lovely. I. I'm very sorry. I don't have the words to convey.
No, and it's okay. I don't expect a whole lot of pity. But I did come here with my Witcher friend, just seeking refuge,
Witcher.
honestly. Witcher, could you imagine me? Was not one but two.
2? Oh, dear, you're collecting.
I know.
And rare commodities. I had my few run-ins with Witchers. They are interesting, to say the very least. I hope that he's treating you properly.
He actually.
Even more so. Interesting. I've never actually had the pleasure of meeting a female Witcher.
Well, I'd have to introduce you to, of course. I believe at the moment she's sitting in on one of Sabrina's lessons.
Margarita allowed that.
Good.
More forward-thinking than I thought, I suppose.
I know. I was shocked. Pleasantly.
Indeed. I'm sure you've come at a strange time, but you'll find safety here. And you may, of course, stay as long as you like. I'm sure Margarita told you, and if she hasn't, I will certainly have a word with her.
Yes. Thankfully. I am very appreciative. I will make myself useful, of course.
Well, there is a benefit to your position, Cersei. You are no longer an initiate. You don't need to make yourself useful. You don't need to justify your existence at Aretuza. You belong here.
That is a very strange concept to consider, being in these walls.
Yes, when is the last time you returned? I don't believe I was here. Have you returned since you finished your studies?
Here and there. Mostly when there was gatherings. When we were all expected to report.
I see. Well, as you had seen, I was conveniently busy during those times, but nothing to report on my end anyway. I can stick to the uninteresting parts of the world the most, but still, finding the cracks and the creases of the continent suits me.
Love that. I can't imagine the stories you've collected.
Oh, I could fill a book. I could fill several books. As I said, it's very good to call a place home and still get the travel bug for once in a while, but I fear, even though the changes and the magics that keep us young are still in effect, I feel I can feel the age just slowly starting to weigh.
Well, you don't look it.
I should certainly hope not.
I was curious, do you know why Stregobor is here and why he's so angry?
Oh, my goodness. I'm afraid that I am a contribution to that, actually. He is investigating something, accusations toward all of us, actually. He seems to have come out of retirement for this special purpose.
Of course. Has he laid bare those accusations?
Oh, subtly. He is under the impression that we have reformed the Brotherhood or Sorcerers without him.
Oh, God's forbid.
Truly, who could imagine an organization of magic dedicated to the well-being of magic without Stregobor at its head?
I'm sure he would be just beside himself. I could only imagine.
Truly, but as these baseless accusations, nothing has come of it ever since the. Well, what happened to Tisea, no one has been keen to create a new brotherhood. Politics and magic simply don't mix.
I took after you without thinking. Why I never went to court.
I'm quite thankful for that. You've spared yourself quite a great deal of heartache and strife. He's also apparently taken a shine to me after many years. That was the bauble you found at my door.
No.
I imagine he's taking after, and he would never admit this, I would imagine he's trying to take after his cohort. Vilgefortz, Tisea, I'm sure you know the story.
I do.
I'm sure he thinks that he can slip something out of me by slipping something in me. But unfortunately for him, he's certainly not my type.
Well, at least you have taste. I'll say that.
I think that even goats would have a higher taste than Stregobor.
We could imagine, could hope. There was something else I was curious about. Margarita mentioned something about invitation.
What kind of invitation, dear?
She said you would know.
There's a light in her eyes now, Cersei. A woman that was just speaking about, and she is quite old, but a woman speaking about the weight of time weighing on her. You wouldn't imagine that in this moment, as her eyes light up like a child. There's a giddiness to her in this moment. She seems to be almost like vibrating in her chair as she takes your hands and says, "You've been extended an invitation."
I have. I don't know what to, though.
Oh dear. Oh, this is wonderful news. This is so awkward for me. It is not often that I have to apologize for telling a lie so soon after having told it.
What do you mean?
Oh, my dear. Stregobor's accusations are quite accurate. We. But to be fair, he doesn't understand the full scope. You have been invited to join a sisterhood. A true sisterhood. The Lodge of Sorcerers.
I think Cersei would kind of be taken aback. When did this... After the Brotherhood, Why? Wow. Why me?
I would imagine, based on the interest of what you've experienced. You see, the Lodge of Sorcerers is where to begin? It formed very, very truly from the ruins of the Brotherhood. I won't say immediately after, but a flower sprung forth from those ashes quite soon. And it was determined that we would serve the means of magic without involving politics. So you'll find, should you choose to accept, of course, you'll find a great deal of differing opinions and minds that are opposed to yours, but there are no battle lines. There is no Nilfgaardian war. There is no strife or error. We serve magic. We preserve chaos. We are without borders and nations and politics.
That sounds wonderful.
It truly is, and perhaps the best part, the men are not included. The Brotherhood is gone. There is no. You'll find no member of Banard there. I imagine Stregobor called to Istrid. I'm sure you've seen him around. If not, you will. And I like the boy, don't get me wrong, but he's certainly going to be a pawn. He's a sweet child, and
Yes.
he's I think Stregobor is attempting to employ him as a softer hand.
Hmm.
But the sorcerers of Banard are unaware of our dealings. They're far too. They've proven to be far too incompetent.
Who is a part of this lodge, if I might ask?
You'll meet quite a few. You likely have met a great deal. Margarita is, of course, having accepted the invitation. Myself, Triss Marigold, Sabrina, permanent staff primarily. Those that are, again, apologies for the deception, but that's part of the reason why I'm here permanently. To keep things smooth.
I see. That makes more sense.
Indeed. As well, there are potential members being sought out. Those that have an inkling. Yennefer is among them. She's. I see too much of a younger self in her, though. She's constantly on the move. And what use could she be if she's never here?
Yes, it's fair. She does travel, from what I've heard.
Travel's not the problem, it's the lack of contact, really. But who am I to judge? I'd be making myself a hypocrite.
I can't have that. I feel honored. I don't quite know what to say. Having come from what I had gone through and receiving such a warm welcome home, and now this, it almost feels, maybe I'm just being cynical, but it almost feels too good to be true.
Well, things have changed. They're with as much as I hate to admit it, the war has rekindled a purpose.
Mm.
It's only been a week since the attack. And already there are letters and messages being sent. How can I help? What can I do? What does this mean for us? It's a no one is drawing lines, and it's a testament. It's a true testament to that the idea is working. And I think that has put everyone at a elevated state. Everyone seems happier. You received a warm welcome because indeed you are welcome.
Well, I feel I would be a fool to decline.
Never a fool to examine your options, dear. And even my own inclusion should not sway you. Examine your options, see if this is the right fit for you. Jumping headstrong into something is how we ended up with the Brotherhood to begin with.
Fair. I'm been known to be impulsive.
Secrecy, of course, is paramount,
Mm.
especially with him roaming the halls.
Right. Of course. None of this will leave this room.
Lovely. She smiles. It's just very good to have you return to us. And to see you safe after being so close. Well, being within the attack on Vizima.
It feels good to be home.
I imagine that the Sisterhood would like to hear your account, but if you are comfortable, you may speak freely here.
Of course.
Cersei, I'd like you to roll human perception.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Plus math.
Congratulations, you're joining a cult, Luna.
Fuck yeah, dude.
You're saying fuck yeah to this cult, but not the Bear Piss cult?
The bear piss cult.
Oh, that's why it seems so low. I didn't add +5. 19.
19. There's it's an invitation to speak freely. It's an invitation not to. She's not probing him for information. It's not a request for a written account for knowledge or anything, but she's inviting you to unload, I guess is the best word for it.
I think Cersei would start with, no, of course. And then she would go into why she was at the masquerade exactly, which would lead into Elodie, which would then bounce back to meeting two Witchers at once and those adventures. Which would then go into why the attack on Vizima was so has been difficult to cope with, on top of it being her community. And it would just be this very long-winded account of the last few years.
And she listens attentively. She doesn't offer a word. She doesn't offer advice or cut you off. Instead, she just listens. She leans in. She's actively listening and just receiving information. There's no assessment or judgment. She's just listening. As you speak, as you convey all of this, we fast forward a bit in time, as it will not make you account for the years of Cersei's travel. And as we do this,
I'm here for it. Come on, I'm here for the lore dump.
As we do this, we are going to take a quick break for Tech and Bio. We'll take a brief intermission, and we'll see you all very shortly for the second half of Witcher Ways of Old, episode 16. See you very soon. Hello, we have returned. Welcome back. We hope you got some water.
I did.
Excellent. We rejoin our heroes still separated. Time has passed. Ingrid, the class has completed. Your audit is complete. Cersei, you have continued and spilled the tea, as it were, over the past few years of your life. And we now rejoin Ingrid, with your audit being complete the initiates rising from their seats, passing by you to step into the hallways. What will you do next?
Okay. I'm gonna do this because I'm an indecisive bitch. Evens, Sabrina. Odds, novices. Evens. All right. I would say Ingrid ponders for a second as what to do because she wants to talk to she wants to connect or discuss. Wow, words are now hard for me. What the heck? Um, with both of them, with some of the novices, but also Sabrina, the teacher. Um, and she decides in that moment, with there being so many novices about, she doesn't know when the next time she's going to be able to uh, talk to Sabrina will be. So she decides while the woman is wrapping up everything, she's going to approach and uh, say, "Hello."
She glances up from a desk and looks you over. Hello.
The look on your face when you said that, there sent shivers of fear down my spine. Um, she was going to be like, "Thank you for allowing me to sit in on your lesson. It was quite enlightening. Magic has always been a curiosity and a fascination uh, to me. I am Ingrid, Ingrid of Sintra."
I'm Ingrid of Sintra.
Yes, yes.
I'm afraid I don't know you.
I don't even know who you are. Um, I am a Witcher of the Bear School. I came here accompanying Cersei Aveline, who is back here. We have fled from. Come on, we were talking this name so many times. What's the name of the city we fled from? My brain is refusing to let me even.
Vezima.
Vizima. There we go. Wow. Okay. um, we fled from Vizima and came here for sanctuary. And Margarita allowed me to sit in on one of the lessons because I was curious. I wanted to say your methods are quite interesting.
So I have Margarita to thank for allowing a distraction to be in my classroom.
Breathe. Okay. We're gonna frown a bit, and then she's gonna say, "It is interesting to find that sorceress teachers are the same in manners and execution as Witcher teachers are." Would you say that this is par for the course?
She rises somewhat slowly from the desk and places her hands on the sturdy wood, and the red hair falls a little bit, not covering her eyes, but a few strands just draping over. And she says, "I'm sorry. What have I given you the impression that I have the time to be questioned?"
Your lessons are over. Are they not?
Yes, and I have my own things to take care of. What did you think I
Hmm.
was just an instructor?
No, but I wanted to say it was very enlightening, very interesting. I got a lot of interesting notes. I wanted to thank you, but it seems you and Stregobor have something in common. So I will leave you at that, and she walks away.
You depart.
Wow. Ow. God damn.
Where do you go from here, Ingrid?
I assume all the novices are probably gone at this point.
Drifted out into either their own rooms or further studies.
Okay, she's going to wander and attempt to find Cersei. All these hoping to find another sorceress, mage, what have you, that's not just high and mighty and lording over her. Ugh.
Understood. How would you go about finding Cersei?
Oh, right. No guiding light. I don't know where anything is. Oh boy, I'm just wandering this magical place. I'm just wandering. I'm just wandering. If I see a familiar face, I see a familiar face. and, and thus, that was the last anybody ever heard of Ingrid of Citra.
Understood. You wander. We will return to you very shortly, and to where you wander and who you might meet. Cersei,
Mm.
you've given the recount of these past few years, and she has listened.
Sorry, I didn't. That was a lot.
No, by all means. This isn't an interrogation, so I just wanted you to speak freely, whatever you wish to recount. I'm glad you were able to recount so much.
Yeah, that was most of it. If things really weren't that interesting up until earlier, well, up until probably last year or so. But I'm just happy to take a breath at this point.
I can imagine so, yes. Uh, I'm afraid there's precious little I can do.
No, of course.
I'm curious, Cersei, did you tell her everything?
Oh, I think Cersei would blush. Only what she asked, which
Oh no, apologies. This is a question from the game master to the player. Did you tell
oh
Aurelia everything? Um,
yes,
so your involvement with Elodie, uh,
yes.
and the book.
Oh, oh,
Tell her, Cersei. Tell her. Tell
oh,
her.
yes.
Understood. In this moment, she says, "There's precious little I can do, but if you need help examining your strange new tome, I have been around the block a few times."
Of course, I would love if you could. I always have it on me actually, and she would. May I?
Of course.
And she would lay it on the gingerly lay it on the desk.
She steps up beside you and now looks over this cover. Cersei, you never really examined this aside from just the contents of the pages. It's a plain looking cover. There's no title. There's no markings to show an author or who began this. It really looks more of a journal or just a leather-bound book of record. I'd like you to roll me awareness here, as she will be doing the same.
Oh, okay. That's a good roll for me. Oh, that explodes. Okay.
Congrats, you got an exploding dice.
God. Finally.
To be fair, I don't think I've really had an exploding dice this session or last session.
Okay, I got my roll.
The result of your roll?
33.
33. You notice here, Cersei, that the book itself the pages are older than the cover. The age is shown in the parchment. The cover itself seems less worn, and as she opens the cover to the front page, she examines it as well. There's the seam line where things have been bound, and it looks. You now notice the telltale signs of a rebound book, perhaps a restoration or just a simple change. This is not the original cover. This is not the original binding of it.
That's strange.
Indeed, someone was keen to replace. Why bother with a restoration if you aren't going to fully transfer pages? These, she flips through a few pages. Says, these could have been retranslated at the very least if you were hoping to make a more displayable tome.
Right. Well, I told you where I got it from.
But I can't imagine a cult of higher vampires would care enough to rebind a book like this.
Mm-mm. No, I imagine not. Hadn't noticed this before.
So that begs to question its original owners and its true origin. She flips through the pages. Have you been studying this?
Cersei would pause. Some.
Has it come in handy yet?
Hold on, I need to double check something. It has, actually.
Good. That is, at the very least, that is a benefit. She hesitates on some of the pages, Cersei. There, as you know, as you've seen, there are a number of spells in this tome. The practice, the origination, there's also some bits of history and notes on things, step-by-step process of practice and learning. I'm curious what took Cersei's interest along the road. I know that she's learned a spell from this already along the road, but what is most intriguing to Cersei?
I think Cersei is most drawn to, honestly, most drawn to the knowledge within being able to access and learn more spells at this point so she could defend herself more.
Any spells in particular?
Quite a few, yeah. If I could find the thing. Hello? There we go. Yes, quite a few. Cloak would be useful. Author's Thunder. Standing Portal, of course. To name a few.
She hesitates on pages that are a bit darker. Looking over, glancing over her shoulder, you can see she's hesitating on pages that seem to detail necromancy, the summoning of spirits. She speaks up. She doesn't take her eyes off the page, and she says, "Whoever originally wrote this, from my studies, from my understanding, vampires are unable to use magic, so I don't imagine this was put in by this cult."
Right, that was my thinking as well.
So whoever owned this originally was keen to study all types, regardless of the dangers.
Yes.
She turns the page and another, and then she is on a explanation of rituals. There's a twitch at her lip. And she says, "I don't think. No." She writes herself and kind of not leans back, but withdraws a bit from the book. That is particularly less nasty, and I know of only one who would deign to practice so openly, or to even record such a thing.
Who would that be?
His name was Cadfan. He is withdrawn, and this is a spell of his own making.
I see. Who is this Cadfan? What is his... I'm sorry to say I haven't heard of him.
He's an incredibly powerful necromancer that is withdrawn from the world, much like Stregobor, but on a more permanent stasis. He, if I remember correctly, was Nilfgaardian before he cut himself off from the world. Still around, I think. I think he has a tower somewhere. I'd have to reach out to some contacts and see if he is still active or alive, although I don't imagine the continent has been rid of him yet.
I see. Cersei would be, make a face of like she's thinking really hard. One thing that does concern me is that Renwick, the leader of this cult, really wants this book back. And based on what I know they were trying to do, I can't let that happen.
No, I certainly imagine not. You said he has a mage with him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't imagine it's his only companion that is inclined toward chaos. I would imagine that this is a source of great knowledge for them. You should not show this to anyone. When
Okay.
even the sisterhood questions you, simply tell them that it is kept somewhere safe.
Understood.
Without borders and without politics, we have found a unity, but it's still difficult. I would hate to see anyone tempted by this.
I agree. Well, nobody has to know the contents, except for you and me. I just wanted to see your thoughts, really.
I think it is a very dark tome. I'm uncertain if even the way about these things is generational almost. The amount of knowledge you've amassed here that is amassed here, it alludes to multiple owners, and I imagine that if Cadfan's own work is here, he was. I don't imagine if he. I can't imagine he was the originator. There are things in here that seem. I won't say beyond his purview, but certain magics he would just take no interest in. If you wish to know more about this, I can reach out to my contacts and see if he is active and see if it is safe to call on him. He is quite dangerous. And in his reclusiveness, I imagine it has not done him any kindness to his mental state.
No, I could imagine not. I suppose, but maybe reaching out to him could give more information as to maybe why Renwick needs this book so badly.
Indeed, and perhaps if he is not the originator, perhaps he noticed what Renwick did and simply did nothing with it. So maybe he can trace back the lineage of this tome even further. Find the source, figure out where this particular ritual that this Renwick is interested in came from. And from there, a way to ensure that it never is used.
Right. No, it can't be. Well, thank you.
I wish I could do more, dear.
That's okay. There isn't much more to do at this point. There isn't much to be done about what's happened either. However, I think I'll talk with everyone, with the staff, and heavily consider this invitation.
Look forward to your decision, whatever you decide. In this moment, we fade back over to Ingrid. You are wondering. Is there anything in particular you are doing to find Cersei? Are you asking around? Are you?
I'll ask around, like little people here and there, little novices here and there, if they've seen Cersei or Margarita anywhere. Trying my best to avoid Dregobor to the best of my capabilities. And Sabrina at this point too.
Excellent. Let's deal with the novices first. You find a group of 3.
Oh,
Yes.
while we're dealing with the novices, I'll ask them about where I could find Cersei or Margarita if any of them know. But I also want to get their um, unedited opinions of their
Understood.
lessons here.
Well, let's do just that. You stumble upon a group of 3. Uh, they are chatting in a hallway. They seem to be keeping a lookout, as if they should be elsewhere doing something more productive. As you approach, they kind of whisper, right themselves.
Uh, Hello, I am Ingrid, Ingrid of Sintra. A pleasure to meet you all.
Hi, hello.
Come up with names and personalities for these characters right
We
off the
weren't
spot.
we weren't doing anything. I've got them. You fucking bet. I got them. Go ahead, ask me their names, motherfucker.
What are their names? Each and every one of them, from left to right.
You have Serena, Baruta, and Mary.
Wow, you really did have it prepared. Proud of you.
Get fucked.
um, I was wondering. I was sitting in on the lecture on control that Sabrina was doing, and I had a question. Are you all happy here?
This Serena kind of glanced over at her friends and it's an honor to be here. It's a true privilege.
It was an honor and a privilege for me to be at the Bear Witcher School too, but that doesn't.
Mary chimes in, cutting you off, and says, "You're a witcher."
It, yes, 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 I am.
They all kind of
I
lean in one by
I
one,
show
sort
my
of
my my
checking.
bear pendant,
They lean in one by
which
one, checking over the pendant. They look at your eyes. There's a sort of collective wonder that comes over them.
oh, hello. It's the same wonder that Ingrid had, didn't it?
We've
When
precisely you can see Serena steps back and kind of rights herself, taking up the more esteemed posture, and says, "We've just never met a witcher. That's all."
oh, sadly, quite the true fact. There are so few of us left, especially Bear Witchers. I do not know how many more of my compatriots yet live. Um, but yes, any questions that you might have of me, I'm more than willing to answer.
They chime in with questions almost immediately. And there are questions from Miriam Baruta. Serena takes up a more reserved stance and asks questions here and there, but there is a plethora of questions thrown your way. Was it hard? Um, how old are
Yes,
you? Does it
60.
is it true you can't feel pain? Is it true you can't feel emotions?
Um, okay, the first question, was it difficult? Um, that is very in of itself difficult to explain for somebody that it was not there, though from my understanding, looking at how Sabrina was treating her students, it is not too different, very cold, calculated, very to the point learnings, very, but adding that to the cold surroundings of Heron Kaduk that was there, the harsh winters, uh, us barely having any heat to survive. In fact, that being one of our trials, uh, to survive the winters ourselves there. It was hard. It was very hard.
What is Heron Kaduk?
Oh, it was my home. It was the home of the Bear School of Witchers, but that has long since ended. Uh,
What do you mean was?
They're all gone now. Sorry, I'm used to people knowing that.
Serena speaks up and says, like we said, we just have never met a Witcher before, and you can tell Ingrid they're assessing you in this moment. And they're not sizing you up, but they're realizing that their questions may not have been as lighthearted as they would have imagined.
Uh, Ingrid is literally repeating in her brain, "Don't be sad. Don't let the sad out. Don't let the sad show. Don't let the depression there go." Um, but she's just going to say, "It's talking about Bear Keep can be a touchy subject, but it is many years past. I was but what did we decide on? Like she was between 16 and 20 when that happened. I think somewhere in that ballpark. Um, I was just but a few years outside of my transformation into a Witcher that Heron Kaduk fell. Um, so distant memories, but still harsh ones. I'm okay talking about them. Uh, I am nearing. Hold on, let me. Yep. I am within a few moons, I believe. Finding my 60th year, my 60th winter.
So it's true then, you don't age. Much like just like the sorceresses.
Oh, we age, just very slowly, very slowly. I've seen older witches as well. Vesemir of the Wolf School, for one. Still handsome, but definitely showing age. Vesemir's like what 400?
Vesimir's old as fuck. Um,
Vesemir's like he's somewhere between 200 to 300, somewhere in that ballpark. I can't remember. Yeah, he's old as fuck.
they continue, and they say,
I love how I wanted questions answered, and they're just
yeah.
insulting. Kids.
Was was it difficult being around everyone during your training? Were you expected more or less?
From my understanding, every school of Witcher is different, so I can only speak to how I was trained and taught in the Bear School, in the Amel Mountains, and our trainers were as harsh as the winters, and there was nary a semblance of brotherhood amongst us, outside of the ones that we found ourselves, if we found them ourselves.
And
We were
Harry
taught to
speaks up
survive.
and says, "It's like that here too. But we decided we're going to form our own coven after we finish our training."
Oh, that sounds lovely. That's not illegal, uh, as a sorceress, is it? Do I know if that's technically like an illegal thing or something like that?
Uh, I would say, given your history, no, it's not. You would know that it's not necessarily illegal. It's just very
Are they gonna get their sorceress union cards revoked?
it's very unheard of to see or it's not unheard of. It's very rare to see a group of sorceresses staying in one place, staying together consistently. Um, Given the amount of age that they can live to, and of course with their own ambitions and things. It's just like human beings but on a much more elevated scale.
Interesting. So very much not too dissimilar from Witchers.
Yeah, I would say with depending on, I mean, I would say that with your history, you would likely imagine not it's not likely to last.
Hmm. Well, that seems quite interesting and quite good. Take comfort in your friendship for as long as it lasts, and try not to let it go, um, if you can help it. People do drift apart, but there's strength in unity. And admittedly, my experiences, even my own self as a witcher, uh, being a female witcher at that, it has been an interesting experience. Um, to answer a question that you asked earlier about emotions, uh, pain I can physically feel. That is a myth that we can't feel pain completely. We are numbed to certain sensations and certain feelings and emotions, but they are still ever present, just different from witcher to witcher. The trials of the grasses hits us very differently. Um, I, for one, uh, did not get my emotions that muted. My I can put on the face, the mask of it, if ever needed. Um, but I'm sure my companion Cersei can attest to me having quite the outbursts at times. And I am, you know, molded by my feelings, my experiences, my traumas, just as anybody else is. It is very difficult to completely explain, but I hope that gives you some insight into the myths of witchers.
Well, this is incredibly, incredibly insightful. Thank you for coming to speak with us. Serena speaks up and says, "We should return to our studies though, before
You
we're."
never answered my question, though,
Oh,
exactly.
apologies. What? Uh,
Are you happy here?
there's a hesitation here. They look to one another. Serena speaks up and says, "It's an honor to be here. My father
If,
pays a great deal of coin to further my studies." Baruda speaks up and says, "It's hard. We're we're very lucky to have found one another."
Ingrid is going to take a knee to kneel down to them because I assume she towers over them. She's gonna take a knee and she's gonna place a hand on either shoulders and look to the three of them and be like, as I said with friendship, also make sure to keep true to yourself and your own happinesses. Learn what you can, grow strong where you can, but do not compromise yourself. That is my advice to you with all the experiences that I've had and I've gone through. Do not let the world dictate who you are. Do not let others dictate where you go and what you become. Learn, study, grow strong, but always follow your own hearts.
Ingrid, I want you to roll a single d10, and
I
I'm
swear, if Stragobor is behind me, I'm going to deck that man.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna remind you that you do have luck before you roll. I will not be telling you what this roll is for.
Don't. I'm using every single bit of my luck. All 8 points of my luck are
Okay.
going into this. Nine plus eight,
17.
17.
Thank you. I'm gonna ask the two of you to remember that number, and I will call on you at a later session. As well, I will ask chat to remember that number, and I will call on you at a later session.
What
You
the
know,
fuck did
Seth
I just
is
do?
gonna say like 22 or some shit.
What the fuck did I do? What the fuck did I just do? Ramos, what the fuck did I just do?
They look to you, eyes glistening. This is you are a figure of authority, even if you don't know it. Not only are you an adult well beyond their years, you are a witcher, a female witcher at that, inspiring to them at this point.
Hey, I think I gave him good advice. I think I gave him good fucking advice. So.
And Serena speaks up and says, "Thank you for talking with us. We should return to our studies before we are chastised."
Of course. And if you have further need of me or further questions, feel free to seek me out. I will be here alongside Cersei, Cersei Aveline. Yes. So you can find me as you need.
Cersei Aveline.
Yes. My friend.
Mary looks to Baruda and says, "That's the old student that Aurelia talks about. The old woman that lives in Vizima."
Old? Old? I wouldn't call her old. How old is Cersei?
There's a pullback as they realize they've just they may have just insulted Miss Aveline in the presence of one of her friends. And they say, just it based on the years, and Aurelia is already, it's just one of her old students, that's all.
Question. Because we've talked, I know we've talked. You told me your teacher's name, right? Before? Or have
Yes.
you not? Yes, you have. Okay, cool. Just making sure. Aurelia, oh, right. Her mentor, she did mention that she was going to want to speak with her. Are you some of hers?
Oh, we belong to everyone. Uh, it's a shared experience of learning.
What's Aurelia like?
Different, very different, and very kind.
I like to hear that. Sabrina was very cold and quick and mean spirited.
She's very knowledgeable, and we're lucky to have her.
That's giving me the same vibes
Right,
of.
kid. That's right, kid.
I'm gonna say, okay, interesting. I will
You
make a
can see
note.
that Baruda kind of leans in and just says she's older than Cersei.
Mm. Mean spirited. A hag? Oh no, are you rolling something? Oh, okay. But she's going to say, if you might know where Cersei or even Margarita might be at this point, at this time, I would love to be pointed in that direction.
She might be with Aurelia now. They direct you toward where Aurelia's quarters might be.
Sure.
You have this information.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I was looking at something. Again, should you need anything or any questions or wish to spar with me for whatever reason, I do have minor magics. Feel free to seek me out.
We will, and we will if you're extended, if you're staying extended for an extended period of time.
And what were your names one more time?
Mary, Baruda, and Serena.
Serena. Cool. I dig it. All right. Thank you very much. I will make my way towards Aurelia's chambers then. And she walks away.
They depart.
Corrupting kids.
We rejoin you, Cersei, with your mentor.
Oh. I remember I had sent a bird to you asking about a binding ritual.
Yes. I had written back, though I don't imagine it will arrive.
No, I don't imagine it will.
What is the purpose? Not just the purpose, but the confines. What do you hope to achieve here, dear?
Well, it is a binding spell between Elodie and the rest of the cult, and she starts getting fidgety. But at this point, I don't know if I want it broken.
I can look into it in case you change your mind. It will be difficult without an example, without a source to look from, but I can look into similar facets of magic.
Though they don't hurt each other, from what I understand.
Understood. It sounds as if it may be a ritual or a hex. I lean on the side of hex, if it is to affect all of them.
Interesting.
I'll do some research, and while you're here, I'll let you know what I find.
Thank you.
You've been through quite a lot, dear.
Yeah.
Take a rest. You've traveled long.
It's probably a good idea.
You can see her smile, and she pulls you in for another hug and says, "You're home."
I think Cersei would just smile and hug her a little tighter.
In this moment, Ingrid, you reach the door to Aurelia's. Following the instructions of the children, there is a small, not pile of ash, but a little scorch mark in front of the door.
Ooh, fire.
There's a knock at the door. And Aurelia pulls away from you and says, "I swear to every god, if that is Stregobor," and she marches toward the door.
I polymorph into Stregobor.
She flings the door open. Cersei, you and I have done a disservice. We have neglected to describe what Aurelia looks like. So in this moment, when the door flings open, Ingrid... Cersei, would you could kindly describe what Ingrid sees?
A tall, maybe about 5'9", 6 foot, in that area. Tall woman, dark skin, shaved head, beautiful, sharp features.
Hold one moment. I think we may... Hello?
I have a very good image. Oh, you went offline.
Yeah, we stuttered for a moment.
Whoops.
Oh, we're back. Hi.
We're back.
Yeah,
Hello.
we're back. Please continue.
Beautiful, sharp features. think, what is that bitch? Vivian
The
from
bitch! Vivian from Dragon
Dragon
Age?
Age. Yeah.
I dig it. Oh god, really? Okay. I had a crush on Vivian when I was playing that game, okay? That woman is as cold as she is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you see.
And she's almost on par with me in height.
Mm-hmm.
Ingrid is gonna see her, and she's just gonna have her stereotypical like resting puppy dog smile face. Um, and the moment she sees Aurelia, she's gonna take a step back and just eyes wide and just looking her up and down, and then looking over her shoulder to Cersei, and give a little bit of a wave. Hi, I was
Hey, Ingrid.
pointed in this direction. Hi, I'm Sintra of Ingrid. I mean Ingrid of Sintra. Um,
Oh,
Pleasure
I've
to meet
heard
you.
everything about you, dear. Come in. Come in.
Okay, okay. She steps in.
She closes the door behind you and says, "It is a blessing that it is only the two of you. You didn't happen to see a particularly foul, bald-looking man in ridiculously gaudy robes down the
Dragobor.
hall. Just the same, yes."
I ran into him when I was going to my lesson with Sabrina, um, and I that man. When I tell you that I had to hold everything in not to punch him in the face with how he spoke to me,
Oh, the world would have been better for it, dear.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I did let myself slip a little bit, and I may have cast Ard to cause a painting to smack into him while I was walking away.
She
What?
laughs and gives a small clap and says, "I think that has earned us a celebratory glass of wine." And she heads over to a small wooden cabinet.
How freaked out does Cersei look at that?
Cersei at first was like, "You did what?" And then when Aurelia expresses herself, she's like, she allows herself to be like, "Huh, that's actually kind of funny."
Uh, yes, it was a shame that I did not stay to see his reaction, but I would expect that if he saw that it was me that did it, even though I think he knows it was me, that he might have assaulted me in return. So I got
Oh
out of there
dear, he
quick.
wouldn't dare do such a thing within these walls.
Mm.
I'll say this
I,
for him: he's a slow learner, but he does learn.
I did get to meet what was his name? Shit, I actually forgot his
Is
name.
his name Istrid?
Istrid. I did get to meet Istrid in
Oh,
Sabrina's class. That man is charming. He kissed my hand. I
of
don't know
course
what
he
this
did.
means.
There's a sly look from Aurelia to you, Cersei, and says, "He is quite the charmer, dear."
Yeah.
She
Oh, so
hands you both a glass of wine and takes a seat herself, gesturing for you to sit, Ingrid.
Ingrid does sit, holding the glass, as she has proven in the past, with elegance that show that she's been around nobility before. So she actually knows how to hold a wine glass. And she will take a sip.
Oh, what's
Thank you.
everything?
Um, I was just, getting to know the grounds and getting to see, is Sabrina always that cold and acting like somebody pissed in her in her mug?
She's not the greatest of temperaments, no.
Mm. I tried to thank her for letting me sit in on her lesson and for what I was learning, and she acted as if I was the biggest distraction in the world.
Of course she did.
Well, then I would say that she lacks focus and she shouldn't be teaching a classroom.
It was on control, which makes that sentence even funnier.
Oh, the irony keeps coming.
Poetry in motion, and I'll take a sip.
I understand you were also in what is the name of it, dear?
Oh, yes, I was coming in to restock from a hunt and ran into uh, Cersei, and things happened. Yes, she is actually looking to Cersei and doing a little bit of a wink that she's not going to talk about vampires this time.
Oh, and Cersei will just take a sip. Oh, I told her everything.
Oh, okay, okay, good, good. We barely survived higher vampires. Whew, sip.
Indeed, I've only read about them in theory. I've never had the displeasure of having to deal with them.
That was my second time.
Cersei just takes a sip.
I am
Dramedy.
incredibly interested in your endeavors. If you ever find yourself willing to share any history, any knowledge, could certainly be beneficial, especially with everything that has been occurring.
I mean, you do know of the fall of the Bear School? Quite a few many people seem to.
Yes, but the specifics are muddied, to say the very least.
Uh, a uh, a cult, if you will, of vampires of various sorts, higher and lower alike, had made their home in the Amel Mountains, not too far from where Heron Kaduk, our Bear Keep, so to speak, at the time, was located. So we took out a contract to clear them out. Uh, to be fair, we didn't know how many, if there was any actual higher vampires there at the time, but we went in force and um, failed, to say the least, once multiple higher vampires took the field. Um, Many of us were lost, and what remained were driven away by the townsfolk. And yeah, that is my story with that. Uh,
It is very unfortunate. I was familiar with your, I'm not sure what you call them, master.
oh my god, I forgot his name. Jesus Christ. I haven't had to look at it in a little bit. Hold on.
Arnagad.
Oh
It
my god, yes.
was, we had spoken a few times and traveled in, not together, but in the same vicinity.
Did do I know what happened to him? I think he's still alive technically, right?
Uh,
Or missing?
for this, I'm gonna have you roll.
Oh
Um,
boy.
let's call this. Oh, let's see. I hesitate to say education because it's not really historical. This is something that you would have had firsthand, not maybe not firsthand, but even second, first or second hand knowledge of. So let's say
Deduction, maybe?
let's call it deduction.
Because I was trying to see what might work with that, because unless we want to use awareness to be aware of his whereabouts.
Let's
But
call it deduction. Deduction I think makes the most sense.
all right, deduction it is. So deduction is 3 plus intelligence, which is 7. So that's 10 plus. And it explodes. 24.
24. Arnagad is, as you know, the founder of the Bear School.
Hmm.
Um, splitting off from the original just school of Witchers. Quite old, and as far as you know, there's no confirmed death. Uh, the downside of the way the Bears operated is it led to a very similar event. Just as Arnagad took his Witchers and created the School of the Bear, from there, from the
That's where the
Bears,
Manticore school came from too,
that is
right?
where the Vipers came from.
Or the Vipers came from. Right. Oh shit.
It is, and eventually the Bears, many of them, saw no reason to remain in camaraderie. Arnagad himself, very rarely was at Hernkaduk. So much so that there were always rumors of he must be dead by now. So it's difficult to say if he's still alive.
I have not heard that name in quite a number of years. Even when our bear school was active, he was rarely there. So I only got to see him a few times myself. What was he like?
Oh, he must be old and gray by now, even with the mutations you all underwent.
Do you still believe he is alive?
Arnagad. I don't imagine it would take anything less than the Wild Hunt themselves to kill him.
Which is what we are dealing with now, so...
He was far too stubborn to die of old age or sickness or illness. If he did go down, it would have been a momentous occasion. Bards would have flocked to the very site to pick up soil and to scatter it amongst their songs.
Sounds about right. From what I remember, it has been some time. I was one of the last Witchers created from that school. It the irony does not fail me that that being the last yet youngest member of that group to survive. But you can tell it's very obvious that she is a little in her head right now as she starts to travel back in time, revisiting some of those memories, taking more sips of wine in between some words. And she's going to say, but the leader of that group, Renwick, is the same one that has been hunting us in Vizima, and the one who was at the party that we attended. I'm sure Cersei mentioned Renwick by name.
Mm. Yes.
Yes, we've had a great
Mouthing
discussion.
Mouthing to Cersei, what about Elodie? Did you talk about Elodie? Okay.
I'm going to do as much as I can. There are some duties here that keep me in Aretuza, but I will help you as much as I can. What is your path, Ingrid of Sintra?
To end Renwick as best as I can, to avenge my fallen brothers, to avenge my fallen friends, to avenge those whose lives that he has taken, and to free myself of him. I would say that she would be able to tell that there's like a little bit more depth to that trauma that she's not saying in a second. He's not exactly exceptional at hiding that fact.
I will help you with what I can. So long as Cersei calls you friend, you have a home here.
I appreciate it, and my swords and my magic are at your disposal.
Ugh, don't tempt me, dear.
I usually mean what I say, and you're giving us sanctuary here, so of course my skills are at whatever you need of me.
Make no mistake. And to be very clear, Margarita is giving you sanctuary here. I am but a humble instructor and advisor.
Ingrid furrows her brow at the humble instructor and advisor, looking at this elegant, beautiful woman who taught Cersei, who is one of the most powerful mages that Ingrid knows. I bet there's more to you than that, though. You have a power and elegance about you, not just your beauty, but I sense that there is more with you. But thank you.
Flattery, dear. You're as bad as Stregobor, but twice as charming.
I like the last part, but not the former.
So tell me, how did you find Sabrina's lessons?
uh, Quite interesting, actually. Her theories on uh, the aspects of control with chaos are uh, quite something else. It's a shame that she has the personality of a farm animal. Um, but yes, I even took, and she's gonna pull out her notebook and she's gonna flip to the page. You know, I have the actual like notebook that you bought me, so I could just actually use it as a prop. Just gonna flip to the proper page and be like, here, see, these are some of the notes with that man's little notes in there. Oh, that was Istrid's. Uh,
There's
Mhm.
another few sly looks over to you, Cersei.
Interesting.
but magic has always been something that quite fascinated me. It was my favorite subject, learning the signs, and she's going to just flip her hand up and do a little small igni sign to do a little puff of fire
Mm-hmm.
uh, over her fingertips. Uh, Igni was my favorite of them, and Cersei was kind enough to loan me a text uh, to flip through that had some basic knowledge and understanding. It's a shame that they didn't teach us anything deeper at the Witcher School, even if we were found to have the capabilities.
Well, hopefully, with the mentors that you've picked up, she glances over to you, Cersei, and then kind of lingers on the notes that Istrid had jotted down in your journal.
There's the
Maybe,
flirty notes in there too, by the way. That's not erased. So.
yeah, it's pen. It can't be. Um, Hopefully, with the mentors you've picked up, maybe you can progress beyond any of your fellows.
She smiles like, and it's an actual like happy, excited smile. And she says, "I hope so." Uh, Admittedly, I am quite surprised at how she looks at Cersei. She says this. I am quite surprised at how similar your methods for education are to the Bear School Witchers, which is why I wanted to get other opinions. I did speak to um, some initiates uh, on my way over here to find you and
Hmm.
getting their thoughts and opinions on things.
Indeed, the as I was telling Cersei, I'm a bit more forward thinking. The Academy Aretuza is undergoing changes. They are so to change. They're still rooted in tradition, which is for better or worse the way things are currently.
Do you still? I do know that there used to be a sorcerer or sorceress in every court. Are you all still doing that?
We still practice our politics, yes.
Understood. That's the part that always took me out.
Believe me, it's not for everyone. It's not for
Certainly not.
for the. She takes a swig of wine. She says, "Those of us with morals, I suppose."
Hmm. So, you taught Cersei.
I did. Not
Do
exclusively.
do you have any stories? Sip, sip, sip. Of when she was younger. Sip, sip, sip.
Do I have stories? Oh, I think I certainly do. And she refills the glasses of
Oh,
wine and begins a tale of a younger age, of a younger sorceress. And that is where we'll end today's episode of Ways of Old.
Fade to the fan fiction writing of the
Oh my
past.
God. When I was a thief.
Yeah, with the crimes committed.
Doing the
Wait,
crime.
really? Crimes?
There were crimes.
There were crimes. We that's us in a handbasket. We appreciate you guys very much. Let's go ahead and get the shout outs and all of the things. Let's start with our sorceress.
Hey, I'm Luna, or Druid by Night. I stream at Druid by Night on Twitch, and I'm also on TikTok and Twitter. I've been Cersei, and it's good to be home. I like that things have been nice for 2 episodes.
Honestly, yeah, surprisingly,
Sans
right?
Stregobor.
Sans Stregobor, but he got it.
Sans Stregobor.
I threw a painting in his face. I think that counts for something.
Absolutely. Next up, our Bear Witcher.
Hello, I am the Azure Butterfly, or Azure for short, or simply Rachel. Faye Butterfly on the internet. You can find me at theazurebutterfly.ttv, where I do a lot of stuff. Mondays are I do VTM now, alongside a couple of friends of mine over on Trake's channel. And then you'll find me here doing Witcher Ways of Old. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you can find me over on my channel. And Thursdays and Fridays, I got Azure's Horror Corner here on Rolling Nomads, where I'm currently playing through Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin, if you're interested in that. And occasionally, I'll get these two wrapped into playing Silent Hill 3 with me, or Luna playing Haunting Ground with me. Yeah, we do. We really do.
We're very close to the end. I'm gonna leave you to give Drake a shout out. I can't. There's numbers and
I know,
I
I
can't
can't
do
either.
that.
I have to look at it.
Yeah, I don't. I gotta.
I'm so used to it. Look how quick I did
That's
that.
crazy.
It's because the only thing you need to remember is that she replaced the A's with 4s.
Copy that. I will forget that almost immediately. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you for watching. We of course have been the Rolling Nomads. I have been your game master, Gilbert Ramos. You can find all of the Rolling Nomads stuff. Way to keep up to date with us is over on Twitter. At _Rolling Nomads. That's the best way to keep up to date with our current programming, our upcoming programming, any late starts, anything like that. As well, you can find these episodes over on YouTube, youtube.com/Rolling Nomads. Yeah, our schedule will be updated as we're making a few changes over on our Twitch channel, or right here on our Twitch channel. That is all I got for spiel, I think. Yeah, that's all I got. That's it.
You're doing great.
I'm doing great.
You're doing great.
Thank you guys.
I think
so
this was
much.
the most unstumbly beginning and ending of a stream.
It was, but I still like fizzled near the end there because I forgot what I was saying midway through. That's very cool.
That's why you have to have. That's why you have to have copy like right in front of you.
Truly, I really need to write a spiel. But we will see you guys next time. Same time, same place, same heroes. We'll see you then.